Notre téléphone. Hey Anthony, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, can you hear me?
For some reason I can't hear you. I think it's on my end. Let me try to fix something.
All right, how's it going, Laurel?
All right, do I need to claim host for any reason? Probably not.
Probably not.
Laurel,
Since-
Candace is gonna be host as the new secretary.
Awesome. Was she given the key?
Yep.
How
Are
you
you good
doing,
with that?
Candace?
Hey guys,
So I have one computer open to my stuff and then, so I'll be put, this is like what I do to my patients. I'm like, hello. They see my side all the time. My ergonomics aren't quite right. All right, let's see. Oh, okay. Got a minute. I have a mallet.
Ah.
Oh,
Nice. Official.
It was just on the way to my computer. I was like, oh, let me try. All right, Eleni, let's go. Okay, where is my?
so I'm sorry, am I gonna be host like every meeting now? Is that what's up or?
How do you feel about that?
Maybe we'll be live soon.
Okay, yeah, it's all right, yeah.
I think Laurel knows something I don't.
I said maybe. All right.
I will shoot Elaine a text. It's not like her to be
We got 2
less
minutes.
than less than 2 minutes or late.
Yeah, yeah.
Less than 2 minutes early.
There's Catherine. Oh, let me look at my minutes.
Well, that looked like okay.
Oh, where'd my minutes go? Look at that. Oh, buggers. Meeting packet. Where are minutes? There they are. So Cindy, have we changed our letterhead?
Yes. We have. Do you see it?
I don't see it on the minutes.
Well, it
Because
wouldn't be.
that makes
because-
sense, because that
Yep,
makes sense.
But
Yep.
the next one you will.
Yes. You're on it. Why would I even ask?
Mm.
Okay, no Elaine just yet.
I just texted Elaine to see if she'll be on. She'll be right on time if she shows up in the next 30 seconds.
All right, we'll give her that, and then if not, we'll see if there's any.
And I just want to do a quick informal introduction. Catherine can do a more extensive one for Madison, but Madison's joining us. I met her today, actually, our new intern for the summer. So thank you
Wonderful.
again for joining us. This is the Board of Health, minus one person.
Welcome, Matt.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone.
I don't think that's Elaine.
Nope, that would be Dan.
Well, did she respond to you, Anthony?
Not yet. I texted her like 2 minutes ago, so no response yet.
Okay.
I talked to her
Do we-
earlier today. She
She
Okay.
knows what time it is. Maybe we can
We'll
give her
get
like
there.
another minute or two, see if she goes on.
So Madison, why don't you tell us, so my name's Laurel, I'm the chair. I'm gonna open the meeting and I'm gonna peg you for public participation. Maybe you could tell us where you're at school and what your interests are.
Sure, yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Madison. I graduated from UMass Amherst this previous May, and I'm starting grad school there in the fall. It's a 4+1 program, so it's a year of master's in public policy through public health.
Well,
So I'm fascinated with all the departments that I'm working with right now. So I'm kind of just dipping my toes in everything and seeing what like seriously piques my interest. But
very good.
it's going so well so far. I love everyone. So
So where have we found a desk for Madison? Where is she living?
She's right outside my office. She gets.
All right, in the
yeah,
in her flex space.
I think she's loving it. She gets to hear me all day long.
it's great. Love her.
She likes my radio. We dance.
Yes, true.
Well, if you go back to get your master's and in your policy course, you have to attend public meetings, then just come back.
Yeah.
We'll give you some time. Okay, let's go ahead to the meetings. I didn't see anything of concern. Did you see anything, Candace?
In the minutes, no, I think they looked all right.
Okay, I'll take a motion from you.
I would like to, geez, how do I make a motion? I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written. For, what was the date of those?
July 17th.
July 17th. I'd like to make a motion,
May 17th.
May 17th, to accept the motions as written for the meeting of May 17th.
I will second, and I will vote Gorville, aye.
Linehan, aye.
Okay. I'm sorry, I missed, I don't see anybody for public participation. We have people here for other reasons, right? So we're gonna go a little out of order today, as Anthony and I spoke about this earlier. So Catherine Dingra is with us, essentially the HHS guru, and she sent us a packet on kind of important updates. And I was at Wake Up yesterday, and I continue to be just amazed at how robust this side of our world is in public health. So Catherine, you have the floor.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Like Laurel said, I just want to give you a few brief updates while we're in person. This is on behalf of so many other staff members here, including Madison, who's jumped in and been a tremendous asset since she began at the beginning of the month. So we are excited to share a few updates, but I did send a more comprehensive overview of everything that we've been doing. So with the Wake Up Coalition, as you may know, we're nearing the end of our drug-free communities funding, which will end at the end of September. We had a really fantastic annual breakfast with over 50 people in attendance and many of our community leaders, and got a lot of awards out, including our very own Maureen Busby, who was presented with the Legacy Award. We've just been doing a lot around some of our action plan with alcohol and behavioral health, working really closely with the schools, leveraging some other grants that are out there, like the Stop School Violence. For example, we've had an uptick in racial and LGBT slurs at the Galvin Middle School. So we're going to be able to leverage that Stop School Violence funding to create a comprehensive action plan. So we've been in the last few weeks meeting with the Galvin admin, Emily, who facilitates that grant out of Melrose, Amy Chivarati, and myself, coming up with an action plan that the schools are really happy with to be able to address the school culture at the Galvin. So Wake Up's going well. You can read the updates of what the youth have been up to in that packet. Our community outreach and collaborations and human service side has been going really well. We've been collaborating with a lot of other departments. So we've recently hosted Dementia Friends training so people could be certified Dementia Friends with our Council on Aging. We're currently partnering with the Recreation Department and Community Policing to offer an HRC camp next week. We have over 100 Wakefield children participating, and so our staff and youth action team members will be facilitating health and wellness with those students. We have our Tufts Health, Melrose Healthcare funding opportunity has been going really well. We actually just presented to the hospital's development board and gave them some updates on some of the things that initiative has funded. So that one's really to look at reducing the stigma and increasing access for behavioral health, substance use treatment, and reducing barriers to other social determinants of health. So we've distributed over 100 pocket talks to town officials, people that work at pantries, the schools, the police, train them on the pocket talks. Even our town clerk were able to facilitate a wedding in another language using those pocket talks. So Jason's trained people, and that's also happened in Melrose. We have these dynamic social service networking events that have been going really well. And we're just trying to do more to partner with our new ELL, our English language learners in our community. And we have recently brought on 2 community liaisons who, one is Brazilian Portuguese speaking and one is Spanish speaking. And they're going to be working alongside Jason and our social service coordinator in Melrose to help reach out to those communities and connect them to services. So a big highlight this year was introducing the Wakefield Heating Assistance Program, and Jason gets all the credit for this. He worked really hard with our partners in Tom in community in emergency management, and Steve authorized those ARPA funds through our town council, and we were able to provide heating assistance to over 120 households in Wakefield, so that's 230 residents, and that was facilitating over $72,000 worth of payments. But what it really did was leverage and connect people to the heating assistance program. So, for example, the Good Neighbor Energy Fund, we had a 1,500% increase of residents that applied to the Good Neighbor Energy Fund. Last year it was 0, and this year we had 16. So that was all through Jason taking people through that process, and our partnership with the Council on Aging, because over 60% of the people that qualified for that program were over 65 years old. So that's been a great collaboration, and town council is really happy to hear how those dollars were spent. And what's really important is that all those people came through Jason and then were connected to other services. So they maybe met him at the food pantry and got enrolled in the food pantry or got connected to housing. Several people got heating upgrades or new furnace parts, and many other services. So we're delighted with how successful that program was. Lots of other collaborations are in the works. So definitely read through those updates. I did want to update you on a few of our grants because we are in different phases. So a couple of grants that we've recently gotten, we partnered with the Wakefield Education Foundation and the Wakefield Public Schools, and were awarded a $111,000 Cummings grant. And that one is to support social and emotional behavioral health in the schools. You might have seen us in the paper this week. And then Wakefield Alliance Against Violence, we had their annual breakfast this morning, and we were able to get a $30,000 Cummings grant from them to support prevention, intervention, and then supporting our residents with legal services. We just got that third year of the Tufts Melrose Healthcare Grant. And then a couple other updates. We submitted the Federal Partnerships for Success Grant. That's a primary prevention, behavioral health, and DEI grant. And if we get that, that's going to be $375,000 a year for 5 years. So almost $1.9 million. It was a lot of work put into that. And so that was a great collaboration between Amy, myself, and Emily in Melrose. So cross your fingers on that one, and cross your fingers on the Sober Truth for Underage Drinking that was submitted earlier this spring, and that's focused on underage drinking. That was also a federal grant, $60,000 a year for 4 years if we get that. So those are just a few brief updates, and it's all because of our great team. And let me know if you have any questions.
You're making me tired. Wow. Catherine, when is the timeline for hearing about the 2 submitted grants?
So we're on the federal cycle for those. So that would be in August that we'd hear. And then they would start September 30th. So the timing would work well. And I do have to do a shout out to Scott Formica, who really kind of gave us some TA on applying for the grant. And then all of our partners in town were just great to work with, and JSI we'd bring in as the evaluator. So hopefully we'll be sharing some good news on either one of those, or maybe both.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. Any comments or questions, Candace or Elaine? I know you just popped on.
Catherine, this sounds amazing. Well done. So much work. I know, like, talking about it is one thing, but I would bet that you guys have spent lots of time behind the scenes getting all of the applications in order. So thank you. This is great. I can't believe the $375,000 one is amazing. If we get it, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. But it was great to talk to folks in other communities. And I think because the state wasn't going for this year, this was really our only window to get in line for these funds. And it was nice too, because Scott was like, you guys are a successful coalition. You presented at the national level, the statewide level. Use that. They want to fund people that they know who can succeed with the funds.
Yeah, we have the track record. That's awesome. Well done.
Great work, Catherine. A lot of work. I know that, but it's a great grant. Congratulations. Let's hope for the others.
Yeah. Yeah. How did senior night go? Just as an aside, like how many students participated? And
senior night was great. We had well over 90% of the senior class volunteered. We raised over $20,000, which is actually a match for our DFC grant, because we have to match 150% of that grant. So it was great volunteers, parent engagement, community leaders. So it was great. Thank you.
How many years have we done it?
5 years.
Okay. Didn't do a COVID year, didn't do it in 20.
Right. That was the year we did honor a senior. But I do have to cheer for Amy, because she jumped in and jumped on the committee early on. But that allowed her to build a lot of partnerships. So it was great. having her on.
Yeah, I mean, some of us are old enough to recall kids going to, various houses. I was just speaking to a parent and, with kids, my kids' age, and we just talked about the incredible stress of the old model, which was, and parents not being able to sort of fight the status quo. And I don't know how many years people were doing party houses after the prom, but, there were kids who just didn't go to prom, or they went to prom for a very short while and then they moved on. We've had some terrible consequences, but also just the emotional exclusiveness that a lot of kids had to put up with. So to hear a 90% participation, like that's a real senior night.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
people
the
don't
nice
have to- yeah.
the nice part too is that the senior teachers say it's totally changed the culture of senior year, where it used to be this really divisive
Yeah.
and changed the,
Competitive.
and now it's inclusive. It's ending on a more positive note.
Yeah. So not only is it safer, it's just better. And I think the kids have buy-in. And it's funny because when I describe it to past classes, they nod in full agreement. None of them are defending prom night as it was done in the past, who I've spoken with. So that was incredible. That took, that took a lot of discussion and momentum, and we had to have a lot of buy-in across the community, and then it happened with teachers as well. So no small feat. I'm glad to see it's continuing. Okay, thank you. Anthony, would you like to go? Elaine, we went ahead and approved the minutes, and we had no public participation. Anthony, do you want to get back on track with the variance and a permit discussion?
Sure, yeah. So I think just because we have Joe's Ice Cream here today, if you're okay with it, we'll take Joe's Ice Cream first for the permit.
Yes, please.
So yeah, so just to give a little backstory, we had a discussion with Rashid. So first of all, thank you for coming to the meeting. I believe your father's the owner of Joe's Ice Cream. He's in the back there, I believe.
Yeah, he is. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we had a kind of a lengthy discussion. Cindy and I were in the room to discuss kind of the history of what's been going on. We did discuss most recently this past Festival by the Lake, which was Saturday, successful event. That there was some communication issues, and they were able to resolve that with us at the meeting to kind of discuss what was going on, clarify some questions. Sunday we also had a report of an altercation, of a dispute by the lake, and we were able to see that footage from before. So we were able to kind of clarify those questions, but we definitely had a couple issues we expressed with some of the latest complaints from Walton School. We had a discussion about how they were operating without a permit. I know there was probably some miscommunication there as well. So we discussed halting all operation until this meeting, because I think that there's been a lot of history, not just in this town but also in Stoneham as well, just of a couple incidents in the past. So on Friday I had discussed with Rashid and his father that we would likely look at a kind of a probationary type arrangement where we want to see kind of improved behavior. We want to see that there aren't any more incidents moving forward, and that we did agree that there would be a stoppage in service until this meeting. Unfortunately, yesterday I was made aware that there was operation in Stoneham. Stoneham's obviously one of the towns that we work for. Joe's Ice Cream was working out of Stoneham yesterday, serving ice cream. And so it's and I'll let Rashid kind of speak after this as well. But one of the things that we discussed on Friday was that we would be halting operations entirely until decisions made at this meeting. There is no active license in Stoneham for Joe's Ice Cream, and so we're not sure if this is the best route to go to re-permit. Rashid, if you want to kind of discuss that.
Yeah, in regard to that, if somebody calls for an event, from my understanding is if somebody requests an event that you can be at, you don't have to have a license in that city. If somebody requests like a private event,
Correct. A private event does not require a permit. However, they were seen serving ice cream on the street at something that wasn't the event.
do you have an address by any chance? Because I know somebody called and requested us to be at a specific location.
We don't have an address, but we have pictures of when there was just ice cream being served on the street. It wasn't particularly for an event or anything.
Okay. I mean, yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, I understand, I understand that there may have been some miscommunication in the past with some issues, but on Friday we did explicitly discuss, operations being stopped until the decision was made at this meeting.
right. There
yeah.
was we did have an event. You said it was yesterday, the 20th. I'm just gonna look at the calendar here.
That would be yesterday, correct?
Let me just check. Because I know somebody requested an event prior to our meeting, but I wasn't. Just check. And I have to look at the calendar, but I know somebody. If you mind forwarding those pictures to me, I mean, he knows I did explain that to him, and he hasn't been selling in Wakefield. He's only been in Reading, which he has an active license for. And as I explained to you, Anthony, and I believe Cindy, my dad just doesn't speak English, which causes a huge language barrier. And I'm currently in medical school, and I'm trying my best to help him, just keep going with the business for him trying to make a living. In regard to that, if you can forward me those pictures, maybe I can identify like what street he was on and possibly contact the person that asked us to come in for an event just to confirm that, hey, like I asked if he could come or stop by or whatever, but he hasn't been. The only city that he's been actively working in is Reading, and we do have an active license in Reading. Honestly, that's all I could say in regard to that. I'm not sure. This is the first time I'm hearing of this new incident.
No, I understand, and I appreciate that. There's some extenuating circumstances. I think communication is one of the things that we're taking into account. Obviously, you're able to assist us in communicating with your father for these things, but at the end of the day, you were both at the meeting with us on Friday, and we were pretty clear that we can't be seeing operational. We made you aware that Melrose, Wakefield, and Stoneham are in a regional agreement. So here that we can't let that slide. Reading, if you guys have an active license, that's totally fine. That's acceptable
Right.
for operation. But for us here, there's just been kind of like incidents happening, and I know we talked about the last weekend, which was fine, but I think after we've made an agreement, then to breach that agreement again, it is very difficult for us. So
I think there's I don't think he. So I don't think he purposely. If somebody did ask us to be for an event, I'm wondering if that would breach the agreement. Because he doesn't. He's not just he doesn't have the music on going around town.
So what was presented to us was that there was music playing, so basically advertisement, and that they served ice cream on the street. We don't have any record of an event going on there. If it was a private event and he was working that private event, that's correct. There would be no permit required, but there was no event at that spot, and there was also music playing as well on the street.
I'm wondering if you could send me the pictures, because I'm pretty sure we can resolve this. And usually, even if there is an event, we like to play music for the kids or forever who's around. As you know, it comes with the experience of having an ice cream truck is to have the music. I'm wondering in regards to so how can we, is there a possibility to discuss his licensing or possibly continue with the probation or some sort of fine after we resolve this specific Stoneham issue?
I mean, again, this is a decision for the board, and I think, as part of kind of like an advisory type role, I think from the things we've seen and from the conversations we've had, I'm not sure that I can recommend re-permitting, especially after this last incident. But I'll defer to the board.
Does anybody on the board have a comment?
I have a question.
Yes.
So if, and maybe this is more for Anthony and Cindy, just for clarification. If you asked for operations to be ceased, private operations can still happen in Melrose, Wakefield, and Stoneham, even though you asked
Correct.
all operations to be ceased, a private operation is outside of that?
So private events are exempt from that. So same with any kind of other food permit. They're not required to submit for a temporary food event if it's a private event and there's no semi-public or public access.
Okay.
So if a school, so let's make that clear. So if a public school asks somebody, would they need to pull a permit? Because it's not exactly private. Well, I mean, I just think it's important for us. It doesn't have to be solved tonight. My other just caveat to this is we're not the Stoneham Board of Health, but we are. So Rishi, this may be a little, there's some nuances in this, and that we're trying to sort of figure out the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. And, just ongoing concerns that certainly are spurred by behaviors that have been concerning and certainly are challenged with a communication issue, but they're not congruent with the ice cream delivery experience with kids. So we're tasked for both, the food product itself, but also the behavior of a truck has a big safety component. Candace, were you going to say anything else?
Has he always been able to produce like his spore count and everything? Would Dan know that? Has he ever had any problems with any other place that he's worked beside? You mentioned Reading. Has it been Reading? What has been going on in Reading? Is there any violations of just the permit or serving when he shouldn't be? Was he, serving on the street without a permit, or did he have permits there?
From what I know right now, I don't believe there's any breach in Reading. I haven't looked into that specifically.
I can probably provide a little bit more shed. So we haven't had any issues in Reading. The ice cream truck person there doesn't really make problems. I think it's just some individuals are taking advantage of the fact that my father doesn't speak English, and this is something that I brought up to Anthony and showed him the footage of what the incident happened with Kevin was. He claimed that my dad had come into the parking lot yelling, which wasn't true. I mean, I showed about 20 minutes of footage to both Anthony and Cindy and just showed them that my dad was allowed to be there. He was there and he just parked, and Kevin was certainly not happy about that. But there were no laws that he violated in any way whatsoever. I'm not in disagreement that my dad has had history, but I would, again, I'm just trying my best to help him as much as I can so that he can get his license and continue. After, that's, he has not, this is the other than like an issue with somebody, other than Kevin's, there hasn't been any in Reading or Milton. He's worked in Milton. So my dad used to work in Dorchester, Milton area, but unfortunately a couple years ago, about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, he was placed on dialysis for kidney failure. So he was unable to drive far after his dialysis, which is why we had gotten in those licensing. And some individuals were not happy, claiming that this is my area or, territorial or whatever it may be. And it's just they take advantage of the fact that my dad doesn't speak English. And as you'd imagine, if you don't know how to express what you're saying, it can be very upsetting. But I just want to ask if there's any possibility to continue with the probation period, and we're more than willing to pay some sort of fine, because I just want to help him resolve it. Because to be honest with you, I'm leaving soon again for medical school, and I won't be present. I'll be more remote. But my number is on the ice cream truck, and this is something I've always told the parents, that if something was to happen, they can call me. Somebody in English will pick up and try as best. And we also have cameras on the truck to protect us, our customers, and the business, just to reduce that individuals taking advantage of the fact that he doesn't speak English. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would take everything I said into consideration.
I will say, I don't think we're going to be taking into account this past Sunday's events, especially since we saw the footage. I think, one of the things that we're talking about here is, if we're talking about behavior that we're concerned about, after seeing that footage, we will be treating, other entities as well, holding them accountable as well. So inappropriate behavior is inappropriate behavior, right? So, we do take that seriously, and we will be speaking with the other vendor. We do look out for, all our vendors in Wakefield. It's not just one or the other. So, the inappropriate behavior that was displayed there, we will be addressing. But yeah, so that particular incident Sunday will not be, should not be held, I don't think, against Joe's Ice Cream. I think it was just more so, the previous incidents, and then also, just this past Tuesday, just yesterday, the incident as well. I think that's one of the things that we're worried about.
Elaine has her hand up.
Ice cream trucks do we presently have licensed here in Wakefield? Do you know, Cindy?
There's two
It's
permitted.
two, right? So,
We
and are those
sent the
two,
third.
are they two like full-timers that are around? Because I don't have anyone that comes in my neighborhood anymore. I know that.
Yep, we have a seasonal permit now.
Yeah.
So it will run currently through October 1st instead of the year round. So we got away from that.
So with the third truck having a permit, I don't think that's going to cause a problem with being on, quote, anybody's territory. But if I am correct, I don't think in all my years on the board or working in public health have had problems with inappropriate behavior. Laurel, do you ever remember anything here? I usually the ice cream trucks just come and go.
You know what? We have three. This one Joe's would be four. We permitted one just today. So this would be four.
Before.
I don't think so. I have a thought bubble in my head, regardless of where we go, because I'm just like trying to also address this problem in a holistic way, which is how much do those, like there may, Rashid, I'm kind of bringing this to you. Is there any device? So like we have just begun with a grant using a Pocket Talk device that does do some translation, and it just in life, it may be a nice thing for your dad, regardless of where we go.
Yeah.
Is I think the behavior is, I work in mental health, is definitely about the frustration. I think there's a cultural, I'm sensing from things that I've heard, that there's definitely a cultural behavior and maybe, elevating ice cream sales to a pretty competitive level and turf. And we gotta bring that down, period, in the world. So that's just aside from what the board decides right now. I just wanted to put that out as a possible suggestion for you, for in addressing this challenge.
Yeah, no, thank you. I know which device you're talking about, and honestly, I found it amazing. But the dialect that my dad has is a farmer's dialect in a village.
Not recognized.
They're trying little by little to add it. But when we did join Wakefield, I do want to say this as a side comment. When we did join Wakefield, a couple of years ago, we were advised that Leanne's Ice Cream, Anwar, had some issues in the past with another lady who was an ice cream truck driver. But I think the person whom told me that no longer works there. I think to agree with you, there is some sort of like cultural, territorial concerns going on. But honestly, Kevin, this is the first time that we've ever had an issue with Kevin. And I think it was just frustration added up with the, language barrier. But, I really am trying my best here. I
We
really,
get that. We hear that. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the incident with Kevin, I mean, this past Sunday, I think that specific incident, again, like we said, we'll take that into account, and we're holding we're holding all the parties accountable, right? So this is not just, Kevin gets a pass, right?
no,
is,
I understand. My dad doesn't want to get anybody in trouble. The police came, he didn't want to file charges. I spoke to the police department. He just wants to get his license, sell ice cream, and not have issues with anybody. In regards to the schools, I will say that the first time that I have heard about that incident was through writing, and I have that letter. It didn't give an incident date or the school, so this is the first time. This is a conversation that I had with Anthony, and this is the incident with the Walton School. This is the first time of me hearing about it in a letter. I did try to call Dan a couple times, but I know you guys are busy and are running around doing inspections. But in terms of those where like he's not supposed to be where he is, that's something that I can greatly help with. I could just tell him, hey, you're not supposed to be there, or this is a private area, and I can assure you that he's not going to go back to it. He doesn't want to lose his license because this is the area that he works, and it makes it easier for him to be operating in Wakefield in these areas so that he can finish his dialysis, rest, and then go, instead of having to drive an hour or so to Milton. So he hasn't had issues in Dorchester, Milton. We've also had I believe Rosendale in the past with the Dorchester, and we haven't had any issues with those. It's just more recently in these areas.
Any thoughts, Candace or Nat?
Rashid, does your dad have anything to add today?
He doesn't speak English, so
I just wonder, I'm guessing both of you guys were present with Anthony when you guys had your conversation. I wonder what happened between that conversation and Monday, if it was sort of made clear to not be operating outside of a private event, like what happened?
So
Like,
when we had the conversation, I'd asked Anthony, because Wakefield, you guys used to do yearly licensing, but it was changed to seasonal. So I'd gotten sent two licenses, and Cindy had told me that she'd called me. I honestly don't remember that conversation, but she may as well could have. So the license was supposed to end the 30th of June based on the old system, but it was switched over to seasonal.
We're forgiving them.
Which was switched over to seasonal, and I wasn't aware of that. I didn't get that in writing, but I believe Cindy if she called me. I just don't remember that specific conversation. But when I asked Anthony, I said, moving forward, he said we can try to meet on Wednesday, and then we could do a probational area or timeline. And I'd asked him if he should operate in Wakefield. He said, don't operate in Wakefield. I understand that Stoneham, Wakefield, and Melrose, but our conversation was specifically to Wakefield, and this was a private event. And I can show you the schedule that I have when I pull it up on my laptop. We have people that call and say, please come here at this time, or please come here at that time. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes we cancel.
Okay. Anthony, can you just clarify what probation would look like if for anybody? Because we've never ever remember having a probation period.
Yeah,
So
generally speaking, it's not it's not a standard mode of operation for us, I think. But just based on these circumstances, I think we would issue the permit with a caveat that any misstep between now and the end of the season we would be considering kind of full revocation of the permit that's issued. And we are mindful of the fact that there may be incidents where there may be miscommunication. We'll still take that into account, I think. But I think one of the things that we're worried about is, even though there is a language barrier, and I know you're doing your best to help him with this. We can't continue to have incidents where he may be in the wrong place, or he in places that we've already discussed before, and then be able to say, oh, maybe there was he just didn't remember, or he didn't know, that sort of stuff. I mean, we have a similar level of expectation for our standard food permits, right? I mean, we want to work with the establishments, especially if there's a language or cultural barrier, right? But at the same time, we have a certain level of expectation, when we work with these establishments, that they have to follow a certain set of rules, and that we try our best to communicate those. But at the end of the day, they still have to be followed. So to answer your question, Laurel, I think with the probation period, it would just be, like a standard permit, but we would have the caveat that, we have the right to pull the permit
Right.
with further instance.
Okay. So I am trying to remove the Stoneham situation kind of from my decision-making, because I'm not on the Board of Health of Stoneham. I'm trying to be, I think that this is a challenge with the department that covers 3 communities, and then when it comes to the board, it's certainly, it's certainly important to know the history, but still, my heartstrings are tugged here. I am feeling leniency. And Elaine's making fun of me. So,
I understand where you're coming from, but my thing is that there was a meeting.
yeah,
And they were explained what he did was he violated in another town this weekend, okay?
which we
That's
think
the way-
we're still on the board.
Yeah.
There's still a thought that it
Which
was a
that's-
private
yeah.
invitation, but
Yeah,
it's fuzzy.
but that's Stoneham problem. That's not our problem. Our problem is that we've had the inappropriate behavior not only once, but twice. Am I correct, Anthony, in this short season? And they had a meeting about this, and he was told not to permit it. So he hasn't done anything in Wakefield, right? And since he had not that we know of, since you had the meeting with him. And let me ask you this, Anthony, did you tell him that he would be like on hold from working for X amount of days, or until we decided what it would be?
So from our conversation, I had expressed that we wanted to see a cease of operations in all 3 of our towns. And that was pending the board's decision here in Wakefield. I mean, I guess I didn't need to clarify the 3 towns, because currently they don't have Joe's doesn't have a permit with Melrose or Stoneham. So really the only town that would have stopped operations would have been Wakefield. But that's to clarify, it was mostly Wakefield then.
And I do think that we're sort of learning, when people are pulled to an event, it's awfully tempting to continue working in the town as you're driving away from the event. So I would encourage any operator just to pull a license wherever they're driving, just to cover them. I know about the exclusion, but it's so easy to turn around and go, oh, sure, I can sell to you too. I'm right here. It's just, I think it's something that we may want to encourage operators to do.
I was going to ask, when was the private event, Rashid?
I'm sorry.
When was the private event in Stoneham?
I'm not sure. I have to pull it on my laptop. I'm currently on my computer, but I'm happy to forward you any screenshots I have of like the name of the person, phone number possibly, or the
Can you ask your dad where he was yesterday in Stoneham for an event?
I'm sorry.
Your dad, would he remember where he was yesterday for the event?
انت متذكر وين كنت امبارح بستونهام؟
رحت عبيت الكاجي ذا بس ما بدري رحت عبيت كاجي ورجعت
He said he remembers the area being by a gas station. Again, he doesn't speak English, so he doesn't know the streets. Was that area around a gas station by any chance? Like, is there a gas station in the area?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe that area has a gas station, no.
I will look into it if you'd send me the pictures and then try to find whomever the person that contacted us, because I usually just take a phone number, name, address, and the date.
Okay, I think if you're able to provide us with the address, I mean, we would still need to know. Again, this is outside of the Board of Health for Wakefield. This is Stoneham, but we would need that information.
I will, yeah, as long as you just give me the pictures or just the area that he was in, and then I'll try to find whoever contacted me on that for that specific day.
Okay.
I think that since we've never had a problem like that, is like this, so to speak, is probably something that we would might take a while for us to really and truly think, but I'm thinking in terms of if we had a restaurant or a food establishment which had something happen to them, how long would we, close them or cease their operations? I think he does have his sport counts and everything. Dan, have you ever seen anything? Does he have everything like that? Because I know I had an event here. I was with an event here one time in Wakefield, and we did have someone who was coming in to do ice cream. And that was the very first thing that particular person asked us was, can I get a permit there? And I want to get a permit and to make sure that they had all their sport counts, but they were having problems. So they retracted from the event, in fact. Okay. And I mean, I think you have to consider the behavior, but I don't know how we can go on if it is a language barrier. Would there be any way, Rashid, he could take somebody with him, for a while, and that would understand English and maybe be able to translate for him when something came up? Is that a possibility?
So anybody that is on the truck has to get their own separate licensing just to protect the children of various towns. They do a CBC and a criminal background check and a SBC. Unfortunately, the only other person who could help him is my uncle, and he doesn't speak English either, but that's why I'm offering. I have my phone number on the truck, and I'm just a phone call away if anything happens. With the incident that happened on Sunday, for example, I called the police myself, and when they got there, I just translated and then followed up with them a couple of days later and said, hey, this is the incident, this is what happened. Can I add my contact information? Which they do have. So to answer your question, the short answer is unfortunately no, but certainly, by phone or the use of technology, hopefully if they can add, new versions of the talking, that would help me out too, because it's hard to get a call, worry like, oh, did something happen, have to leave class, and then try to explain that to your professors is not easy as well,
I will say the only precedent,
No, go ahead.
Well, just to answer Elaine's question, the only precedents that we have, if we're talking about like a related food incident, was Carol's Cafe. But we kind of worked through that, but we did ask them to cease operations immediately. So similar incident, but I think different circumstances.
Yeah.
We're also willing to pay a fine because I wasn't aware that the seasonal change to the, we are willing to try to rectify that specific issue with a fine of some sort.
Okay.
I'm just trying to also be fair and see it from your guys' point of view, because as a board, you guys have also,
Okay.
How long has he been ceased from working so far in Wakefield?
I
Since
believe
Friday.
it was, it would have been from Friday.
Friday the 16th.
Friday the 16th.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah. We
I mean,
also
my recommendation is, is to have at least a 10-day period that he would not be able to, and to re-go over and see if we can find some type of a solution, if he can use a translating app, on a phone or something, because I think what's going to happen is he comes back again and we very well in 2 or 3 more weeks could be sitting back here. If, this is the problem, he's having problems with the language, and when he gets, which is normal. I mean, if you don't understand and someone starts, by the time they call you, are they going to be able to talk to you right away? So he really has to have direct access to someone who can translate right away. I mean, that's my opinion.
We
Yeah,
actually,
also-
I got a text saying, just from Catherine, because she had to leave, but our Pocket Talks have been updated. And though you're not we could talk as a board as to whether or not it could be accessible just as a trial, to see if that's something in life that might be helpful. I may be getting ahead of myself there.
I also just wanted to add before, Laura, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. I just want to
No.
let you know. So we also, I think we mentioned this on Friday, Rashid, but we were still waiting on a current registration for the truck that hasn't been uploaded yet.
Oh, yes, I have a picture of that. I've been meaning to upload it with the payment also, but Cindy, I know I forgot to upload it. I will send it as soon as possible. That,
Correct.
but we are also still waiting on the board to approve for the payment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, to answer your question to earlier, I do have also 3 siblings, so if I am unavailable, it is possible that my dad could call somebody else. We are collectively trying to just help him as much as we can,
Okay. So we need a motion as to whether to permit or not. I don't know if
Is probation kind of off the table? Are we just yes or no?
it could be, I mean, it could be part of a motion. Certainly, it's up to the board. So,
I guess I wonder, excuse me, Laura, I didn't mean.
no, go ahead.
And I've been thinking about this a lot, so forgive me for being kind of silent. I think I'm thinking about the history too, even prior to this year. And I know that's not exactly what this conversation is about, but I know there've been other challenges in previous years with this particular vendor. I think if we were to consider like a probation or some kind of probationary period, other than the Pocket Talk, like what can we do to support this business? Like what can we do to try to make sure this doesn't happen? Because Elaine, you brought it up. I kind of feel like if we do a probationary period, well, we're going to be back here. I think, like, how are we going to like put something in place to kind of make this better rather than just wait until something else similar happens in a week or 2?
Yeah,
think
actually,
that the-
Elaine, if you're okay with me, I'll just jump in real quick, and I'll let Elaine go. Different than a regular food establishment, I would say the only thing I can see different here is that police and health are pretty much equal partners in permitting ice cream trucks. And so to answer your question, Candace, one of the things that we can do is we can communicate more with police. Maybe help them come to an understanding of like, what the status of this is, what the expectations are. I think communicating with them more would be helpful. But that would be the major difference between food establishments and ice cream trucks.
And I think that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. But it seems like when that communication happens in these events between whether it's the person hosting the private event or whether it's someone hosting a public event, there's significant pushback to that person from Joe's Ice Cream. And I guess I definitely can appreciate the language barrier and the cultural differences, but when it doesn't sound like there's like a curiosity happening here. It sounds like there's just sort of some anger between the vendor and the person who's in charge of the event. Like they're not sort of understanding that there are rules in place. And, you know, if you forget, okay, you forget, but like, let me remind you, these are the rules. And then when that reminder is given, it sounds like in that moment, there's significant pushback from Joe's Ice Cream. Am I misinterpreting something? Is that happening, or?
I agree, and that's probably where the inappropriate behavior comes. I mean, if he even parked his truck in the wrong spot and they're trying to tell him, he doesn't understand that. And by the time he can get somebody to explain that to him, he's probably already aggravated. And think about the person running the event. You've got, you know, people, you've got safety, you've got street blocks, you don't know what's going on. So they're going to be frustrated. So you've got to, on both sides, everybody's frustrated, and you just can't, you know, get it across to him quickly enough so that it won't escalate. That's what the whole thing is to me.
I think it's the escalation that sounds like it's becoming a challenge, right? That, okay, if you need a reminder, no problem, like we all make mistakes, okay, but then when the reminder is given, it goes to the next level. Instead of, like, if he just sort of pulled his vehicle away from those places, I don't even know if we would be here having this conversation right now. If, you know, like a mistake happened and he was somewhere he shouldn't have been, or wasn't supposed to be, if he was, and I wasn't there, I don't know how the rules are or how things were made clear to him. So I think it's possible that, like you said, on both sides, there may have been, you know, people could have done it better. But I wonder if that's like a little bit of a sticking point here is the reaction when the rules are sort of like explained.
And then unfortunately, I think that what this type of business, when they show up at an event, it's a huge event, and there's so many people and there's so many little rules and regulations that you've got to follow. And he says that he doesn't read English at all, does he? So he wouldn't know street signs or know, you know this or do not enter or something. And I think that that's what it is. It's just the type of event that he's going to too is so huge that, you know, someone is, if he doesn't understand or even can't be directed, he can't even probably be directed to the right spot. So that's probably what escalates everything, I would think.
Okay.
I think just one last thing. I think you know, we've discussed this, you know, we've discussed, you know, some leniency. I think, you know, this is going on the third year, is that correct, Rashid? About third year with Wakefield.
I believe it is the third year.
Yeah, entering the third year now. I
believe
think, you know, we sort of know now all the events that you're like, no, the ice cream truck is likely to frequent.
Yeah, actually,
you know,
sorry to
Yep.
interrupt you. He doesn't know the
Okay.
events. Like when they happen, he doesn't know when they happen or what time they happen. We don't have an account that Elaine was referring to. So if there is some sort of website that I can access in advance just to see, like, for example, if there is an event that he needs a permit for or he can't be at, that's something where I can also help. I'm not sure if you guys release the event information on your website to say, hey, there's like that we have an affair on the specific day during these times. That's probably something that I can review beforehand and say, or review once a week and say, okay, just to let you know, on this day there's this event, you can't be there, etc.
So yeah, so I don't think necessarily that there are events that he can't be at. It's so much that you just have to have a permit to be at the event, right? So when we're talking about the events, we're talking
Let's
about
just
like
go for
town-
4th of July. Like, let's just talk.
Sure,
about
4th of July as a good example. I know he's not going to be there for that one, but 4th of July is an example. You know, it's on the town website, so we have a calendar on the town website, the Town of Wakefield website, and there's what the events. You know, Festival by the Lake was on that calendar. Anything town specific, right? Like Town Run is going to be on that website. So, you know, I'm trying to think of a larger event in town that doesn't run through the town. Do you guys have an example? Any large
What about food?
town?
What about farmers market?
Yeah, farmers market, right? Farmers market might not be on the town calendar because it's not a town sponsored event, even though, you know, we have some entities there. So that won't be on our calendar, right? So that's more of a, you know, more of a community event you may hear through like Facebook or whatever you might hear through, right? But I think it's one of those things where anything that is public or semi-public, you still have to get a temporary food permit from us, right? and you have to let us know. And then, you know, if there's questions about like, what can I do? Where can I park? You know, those are things that you can ask us ahead of time, right? So it's a combination of private events, farmers markets, sort of, no, farmers markets are public, but I mean, like, you know, not town sponsor and town sponsored events. There is a way to find out ahead of time. And you can always contact us, right? We're a resource too, if you have questions about what you can do, what you can't do. So we can always get ahead of that too.
Okay. So it's almost 7 o'clock. Board members, anybody able to articulate where they're leaning on this or make a motion?
I make a motion that we at least hold his permit back. First of all, he doesn't have everything into you, Cindy, right?
Correct.
Correctly? All right, okay. So first of all, that we table everything and hold him off from permitting him for now, which he can't because he does not have a valid permit. Let's let him get all the information in first and to apply for his permit. And when he does, I think he's going to have to somehow show to us how he's going to deal with not being able to, with the inappropriate behavior. Does he have a solution on what to do for himself to understand if somebody starts something with him or questions him? He has to show to us some sort of a plan that's going to work.
Mhm.
If possible, you can make a motion to, you know, basically have a plan in place. Would you be okay with delegating that planning process to us at the health department to kind of
Mhm.
work with him to do that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so Elaine, was
There
that
we go.
motion language?
I don't know if it was really motion language.
Do
It's
you
very
want me to put
difficult.
the Roberts Rules magic wand on?
Yeah, the Roberts Rules magic wand would be, I make a motion to, first of all, that Joe's Ice Cream complete the proper information and permitting with the town of Wakefield. Then when his permit is approved, that he could work with us and present to us a plan to possibly help him that would help him to be able to communicate with those that don't speak his language, and what he would do if he found himself in that situation where he did not understand and did not want to escalate any problems. That pretty good for Robert's Rules?
Pretty good. Do I hear a second?
I can second that motion put forth by Elaine.
Sure. Takes a
Okay.
while.
I'll take a vote. Elaine,
Silver eye.
Linehan,
Linehan, aye.
Warville, aye. So we will, so Rashid, your dad has left the room, but you know, essentially, right? This is kind of a no-brainer. He doesn't have a permit right now. So he cannot work in any town. And I would highly recommend, just because of the language barrier and questions, that private stuff not happen in these areas, because it's just going to be misinterpreted. It's just too easy, or for him to kind of go past those bounds. So he has to, the Joe's company truck has to do the permit by the letter. Cindy's incredible. And I would suggest maybe some additional signage or a script for your dad, like a decision tree for your dad. If you find that you're starting to get mad, call son 1, child 2, child 3, and even maybe have a communication card saying, I'm calling my son to help you, or I'm calling an English speaker to help you. I don't want to make him vulnerable, but we've got to find a way to help this. You know, we would like for this to be successful. That's what we like. You know, that's our business. So there's no fine involved here. We just got to wrap this up, get this year's permit done. And this is an opportunity to have a success plan. You can, if you can come to the office, or one of your siblings can come to the office and play, you know, experiment with a pocket talk. Catherine Dinger, who was on the call before, might be able to sit with you and just see, because it gets updated fairly regularly. God, you would think we could do this with all the science that we have up there. And so we will proceed that way, but scrutiny will continue as it does for everybody in town.
I think it's going to be really challenging if we're back here again discussing something
Yeah,
similar. We spent a lot of time, I think, and I agree with the decision, but I think it was a carefully thought out and a somewhat lenient decision this evening. So I'd really love it if we were not back here again, having a similar conversation in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
All right, so just to summarize, Rashid, just want to establish we'll hear from you soon. I know you're not going to be in person, but give the office a call. We'll set up a time, and we'll come up with an action plan.
Sounds good, and I will upload, I just took a picture, he sent me a picture of the registration, I'll upload that and that should complete it. Now, should I continue with the payment as well, or should I just wait until we've
So
figured out
this
the plan?
so this is signaling that we're going to move forward with the permitting, but we also have an additional piece of coming up with a plan on how to
Okay.
address situations. So yep, upload everything you see on that permit. Just like Laurel said, no operating in Wakefield at all for the time being, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. Thank you for
you
your
so
time,
much.
Rashid.
Thank you, guys, and I apologize for taking an hour.
Thank you for supporting your dad.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
You too. Take good care. Okay. Variance request for Lisa Giros or Heroes, or however you pronounce that, depending what town you live in.
It's okay. We might need to take a vote on that later. Dan's got a quick update. Good news is probably not going to need a variance, but Dan just wants to give us a quick update. I learned a lot about Heroes in the last.
Hey, it's not Italian, so
No, not
I'm
at
in
all.
full support if it's happening. What's going on?
Yeah, so well, there seems to be a lot of options people have with permitting gyro spots. And I talked with Diane Bernazzani over at the Food Protection branch of the DPH, and she sent me over a lot of good material. But because of the way that gyros are cooked on a vertical broiler with the spit, you obviously have ready-to-eat food in contact with raw food at the same time. So some towns, they pass a variance using time as a public health control in order so that there's no overnight storage of any leftovers, which would increase the likelihood of certain pathogens growing on the uncooked meat. However, based off of what the DPH gave me, if you introduce a secondary cooking method after it is taken off of the double broiler, like a secondary kill step, before it's given to that person or before it's cooled and then put in storage, then you don't need a variance. You don't need to use time as a public health control. And they don't have to throw out any food or be wasteful. So now that I know that,
Now I don't know if I'm going to go, but okay.
now that I know that a variance isn't necessary, in their plan review, I'm going to have them submit a full process for their cooking method. And within that, I review it and I make sure that they're using a secondary kill step after they take it off of the vertical broiler, and everything is fine.
Wow. Where do they want to set up?
At the old location they had, the tiny little like hole in the wall on Main Street.
On Main Street next to Dunkin' Donuts, where the pizza place is.
Where Lisa's used to be?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
There's
It's
a
that same
banner up. It
building.
says Lisa's Heroes right there.
Oh, well,
They're ready,
Yeah.
optimistic.
Yeah. The rest of their setup looks good. They got all new equipment inside, and everything looks pretty clean in there. So,
Do we have any history with that business?
Lisa's in
Pizza.
Melrose, which is run by the same people. They've had some questionable inspections that I've seen. I think they had like a 5 critical or a 6 critical inspection the first time I was over there, but that was in Melrose. And obviously the more locations you have from the same business, the harder it is to keep them running, you know, up to snuff, I guess. But they in Wakefield, from what I could see at the new location they have, I didn't have any issues. You know, when I did that plan review with Aaron, we did not have any issues. So
And have you done an inspection yet at that gyro place in Stone? Have you been there?
no, actually, I did not know about that gyro location until recently,
Okay.
Until after it was opened. So I definitely need to check out what the deal is over there. But I believe they had a preliminary inspection done before they opened and everything went well. But I should definitely check up on the on their processes that they have and make sure that they're doing everything correctly.
It'll be interesting to see if they both adopt the same process.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Generally, when I spoke with Ari, who is one of the owners, they kind of want to use time as a public health control. And they would rather throw out the products because when you introduce that secondary kill step, it's easy to dry out the meat.
Yeah.
So obviously the product quality kind of goes down a bit. But in the grand scheme of things, especially like nowadays with how hard it is, you know, with business costs and the cost of food, it's almost worth it so that they're not throwing away so much food, because they're also not very sure that they're going to get a ton of business. So they don't have an issue using the secondary kill step after they take it off the broiler. So it should work.
Yippee. Okay, thank you. Hey, Dan,
Sure.
just as an aside, we had the pastor from the church that's being built. Is that First Baptist?
Yep.
Come by and ask if he could do a plan. It just occurs to me, do you have a handle on how many church kitchens we have and how we're doing with inspections on those?
Yeah, so when I first started, when I was going through all the permits, I did the churches, and I think we had like 4 or 5, Cindy. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of them, like Temple Emmanuel, they're not even, like, they don't have a food permit anymore. There's a couple that who is it? Father
Yes, the one up here on right by the lake, on Church Street.
yeah.
Is that the
Stone Church?
First Congregational?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have a big
Who's
kitchen.
who's the church? His last name was it began with an M, Cindy. You know who I'm talking about? They have the
Mortimer?
daycare. Yeah,
Mortimer.
Mortimer, Reverend Mortimer. Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
I inspected him, but it turns out he didn't even have a food permit. They just do private events occasionally. You know, they'll have like a little bake thing.
I mean, they used to be so much more active, but I just, it just
Mhm.
occurred to me, I think, churches have got, been differently, that, Most Blessed is doing a community dinner, but they're really not doing prep. They're keeping it super safe. But there may be a time where people start, like I think a lot of churches have, overbuilt their kitchens, or they built them at a time when, they could utilize them as a commercial kitchen from time to time. And so I don't think that time is now, but the potential certainly is there. So we know that you're keeping an eye on it. I was just, thank you for filling me in.
Yeah, definitely. And you're totally right. There, most of the time they do have kitchens that are just like wildly, like way more built than necessary, with tons of equipment. Like Cindy, what's the one across? It's right by the
The
lake.
UU?
Not the UU, the one, the really old one, the big stone church.
That's
what-
First Congregational.
That's what we were just talking about. That's Father.
Yeah, that kitchen is huge. It's
Yeah.
massive. They have a commercial dishwasher in there. Like it's crazy, but they never use it. So yeah, that's kind of just where it's at, where 99% of the churches aren't even using their kitchens with their food permits.
Seems like an untapped resource, because
Mhm.
if they were licensed, people could, I don't know. But
I know at the UU there's we have a caterer that uses their kitchen for events, but she hasn't been operating in a while. Cindy, do you
No.
remember her name?
Yeah, Essex, is it Essex?
Essex Catering. Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, again, it's a post it's a post-pandemic readjustment, right?
Right.
So we'll see. Plus, you know, we didn't have near the amount of restaurants we used to have. So the
Mhm.
churches get, you know, like the culture is just different, but I don't want to waste any more time. Not waste it, but I don't want to use any more time. Thank you. Okay. Anthony, do we need to talk about Mass Health CAC designation?
Yes, actually, so yeah, I'll just go out of order a little bit. So yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, what
Mass
am I
Health-
missing? The lake recap? I thought
I
it
think
wasn't.
we had did we do the lake recap? We may have already done that. So
Oh, well,
lake
who
recap.
was gonna do the lake recap?
I was gonna kind of spitball about that. No,
We're all there.
so Festival by the Lake, I was gonna say, great event. All three board members were there, so thank you for coming. I think the turnout was fantastic. I think people loved the tables, you know, all the different things that we were able to educate people about. You know, I think the youth were fantastic at the very end table, kind of talking about the projects they've been working on. I think lots of people took a lot of interest into the ticks and mosquitoes display. You know, we saw people talking about those. And I think it was just an overall great kind of outreach event. So we're hoping to continue to do that moving forward. I think the setup was great. I think Cindy, you picked out the 3 tables, you know, being able to separate the 3 kind of main functions.
The
out for
apples
everybody
were
to see,
fabulous,
so
Sal. The
Yeah.
apples were fabulous.
they were. Yep, and I think the weather held up almost to the very end. So she still has one. All right. I'm
Put
surprised
it
it's still
under my
here.
desk.
Did you guys break down early because of the weather? Because I left just as I was leaving, the skies opened up and I was like,
Maybe like 3:30. Yeah.
3:30 or so. They
Yeah.
came, TPW came and everybody was packing up.
Yeah. The
Good
weather
job,
got a
team.
little weird near the end.
Yeah. But overall, fantastic event. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add, but yeah, very
The
successful.
sunblock was a hot item. People were
Oh,
really
yeah,
excited
people,
about that.
yeah, people took
People
the
love
freebies.
Charles
People took the
Sunblock.
freebies big time, so that was.
We
pretty good.
couldn't sell all the COVID kits, but
Oh, that was like the 5th box though.
oh, we're okay. All right. So we actually did better than I
Oh,
realized.
yeah.
I think of letting people know that the COVID kits have a running parade over at the library from our office to the library is, I think it's easier for people to get them at the library than to find us. Are we ever getting a sign on the building that says Board of Health, Wakefield? Or Health Department?
We are definitely working on that, but there's been a couple of changes in folks in our building. So another shift in departments, another shift in businesses in our building. So you know,
Yeah, but
hopefully we'll
It's
get a sign
like,
eventually.
You just add, like, doesn't matter
But-
what the other people doing, we need a
I
sign.
kinda I like flying under the radar a little bit.
Laurel, you got to put in the ticket. Okay, so yeah,
Who do I have
we'll
to
get
talk
a
to?
sign eventually.
Who do we have to know? Okay.
So if it's okay, I'll move on to Mass Health.
Mhm.
There's 2 items here, neither of which needs a vote to approve, but you know, just to give you guys a heads up, we're very excited to be working on this Mass Health project. Jason in Wakefield and Colin in Melrose, our social service coordinators, are signing up to become Mass Health coordinators. So they're going to be trained and be able to help kind of streamline the process for people to sign up for Mass Health. It's a great development. I think there's a lot of training opportunities involved. We're able to add some more tools to our toolbox to help our community members who need to sign up for Mass Health. So you know, it's sort of like any other grant where we need to enter into a local agreement with this organization. And so we had some questions about whether I would sign as the signatory for town of Wakefield as a representative, or if it would be Steve Mayo, our town administrator. Preliminarily, I believe Tom Mullen, we talked about a little bit. I believe it's going to be Steve, as he is for most, I think 90% of our grants. He is the sign-off authority here in town of Wakefield. So I do not believe at this time we're going to need a vote to approve any of the policies or protocols, but we've run them all by town council, Tom Mullen. So we should be all set.
Okay, so if we
Yeah.
do need a vote, you need to send us some paperwork to read it.
Correct.
It's Mass Health, God knows. And Elaine, just to remind everybody, because I can't help but throw in the history around. When Elaine and I were on the board signed, they either purchase POs, we were told to come in and we had to sign something, and we had to sign the timesheet for the staff. So at some point, we talked to town manager Mayo and said, isn't it like the board is about policy, not micromanagement. And it was a huge shift in culture in the town hall in general for the good. So we try to stay away from signing things. And the fiduciary, and I had asked Anthony earlier, I learned a lot about over the years, just kind of the fiduciary of certain grants. So for instance, the DFC grant in different communities went to different departments. So in some departments, they were with the police station. I believe that's the case in Reading. And
Correct.
some grantees of fiduciary is the school. And I think our model is best with the health department and HHS, because when it gets into the school, it's one of many things. And it's harder for the school to reach out to the community, but it's up to everybody to decide. So good to know that we're being consistent and we have Counselor Mullen helping us out. All right, are
That's
we
good.
meeting
And
for the
then,
rest of the summer? Any other meeting? Anything
Wait,
else?
Is that all of it? Is there anything else, Anthony?
I was just gonna read off a public health nurse update, if that's okay.
All right, we
Just,
got that. Sorry. Yes.
Oh, yes, just some information. So Melissa and Sandy have been hard at work, giving them a shout out, working with our camps. I believe last time we had a meeting, we discussed some trepidation, and we were working on some issues, and Dan's also been very helpful working with our camps as well. Happy to report that our camps are in really good shape.
That's
I
great.
think,
That's incredible.
yeah, I
In
think
2 months.
I know we no one's ever called us miracle workers, but they should. I think we've been able to kind of communicate the expectation. I would say COVID was definitely an interruption in operations, and we let some things slide, obviously, right? Because we wanted to make sure childcare was available. But I think getting back to the basics, looking at the state camp code. We've just been able to communicate the importance of safety, the importance of having policies and procedures in place. We've actually picked up a new camp this year. I believe it's sailing camp on Lake Q. So
That's
yacht club.
they just took a hiatus. They've been around for a long time.
Yes, they have, and so we are happy to add them back into our camp roster this year. They have been absolutely fantastic catching back up with having all their camp regulations in place, and so we're very excited to see them operate this summer. So I can't say enough. Melissa and Sandy have spent hours and hours and hours going through regulations with them, making sure all of their things are are up to par. So on top of the other updates we have from them, so they've been keeping track of communicable diseases in Maven. COVID and flu numbers are down. There have been a couple of salmonella cases and a slight increase in Lyme disease cases. As you might have heard, national news, tick season has just increased in terms of duration as well as exposure. So we're starting to see Lyme disease kind of creep up in other areas. We've always had an issue here, but one of the things we're trying to put together now is kind of an extended, almost like a training, I guess, for our residents. How to spot ticks, what areas to avoid, things they can do to prevent ticks. Especially even in their residential areas, when there's wildlife coming through, making sure that they keep their, bushes trimmed and making sure all the grass is cut. So, things that deter, allowing ticks to survive in their area. So, we're going to be putting out some more Lyme disease related information pretty soon. They are currently following one suspected TB case. And so we'll be making sure that we keep in contact with them and their provider to make sure that we support them. We were able to produce some monthly articles to be sent to the Wakefield Communication Director, Jen McDonald, after publication. I think these articles have gotten some pretty good reviews. For different areas. I think we had skin cancer. For one of the articles, but I think some of these have been geared towards senior populations as well, some of our topics, and they've been able to kind of, they're easier reads, they're not particularly long, but I think they're able to communicate a lot of information, and they're kind of supplementing some of the work that the Council on Aging is already doing in terms of reaching out to them.
Awesome that they're writing
Yeah.
articles. I think it's really like a great piece of public health nursing, that education piece. And it lets them shine as they should be, like they work so hard.
Actually, I might just ask them because the Alliance for Camp Health is always looking for input in their newsletters. So even hey, we're not camp nurses, but we're public health nurses helping day camps, and this is what we see kind of thing. It might be a nice, not that they're bored, but it might be a nice opportunity because it's different, right? They're consultants to the camp. They're not the camp nurse. We're trying for them not to be the camp nurse, but they have to understand what camp nursing is in order to monitor what's going on. Good for them. What a team.
Yeah.
Dietary supplements and chocolate, dark chocolate.
I know, dark chocolate, that talk was wildly successful at the Council on Aging.
Did it come with lint? Did it come with a sample?
I don't think so. I think they were fighting over one piece, but we were able to kind of spread the word. I think Stoneham Council on Aging is actually going to pick that up as well. So just getting the word out is great. And it was a fun talk. It wasn't just a lecture. It was a lot of fun engagement. So it was really good.
Right.
Yep, we have continuously increase our blood pressure clinics, some attendance. People are starting to bring their friends, which is great. Just to get that service out. Dietary supplements for senior center newsletter, that was one of the examples of kind of geared towards senior letters. And that's pretty much it. I think the only thing that's not on here that we forgot to mention was the Narcan policy. So Sandy has been working day and night to make sure that we are in compliance with the state regulations on Narcan distribution. Sometimes it takes the state a little bit of a while to catch up on Narcan policy that makes it accessible and makes it makes it practical, right? But I think we still need to be very mindful of the way we distribute in the community, and the proper education to go along with it. So Sandy's been really fantastic about that.
Can you send us the final kind of, we don't need, it would just be nice to know, because I think I've heard other communities are struggling. It's become like kind of so automatic for some people because it's a comfort level and you forget how many other people have no comfort whatsoever. And we have to be careful. We're not a dispensary, but this is treated specially. So
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, once we have the final, we'll actually give a short presentation, give you guys the highlights of what was determined there. So okay, and that's pretty much it.
Excellent. Anybody else? We're good. It's a long meeting. Candace, can I call you about a school health thing? I'm trying to track down less than extortionate EpiPen prices for camp.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It will be very narrow. That will be the narrow.
Yep.
All right. So we generally don't meet in July unless we are summoned to do so.
Well, I hope to keep your ringers on. Yeah, July is nothing's going on particularly in July unless an emergency comes up. So I'm good if you guys want to just meet again in August.
And then
Good.
it's the problem with making our
Nothing much in
department.
August. We can skip August too. We can take the summer.
What do we pay you for, Elaine? You come
I
to like
don't
2 meetings a
believe-
year.
I don't believe that we've ever gotten away without being actually pulled in.
No,
Right.
it is true. Where I was the director, our board never met in July and August, except for when I became the director, because it seems like we always had an emergency in July or August. So
Do you
I
guys
feel
want-
guilty, but
Is anyone
July should-
away on the 16th? Do you want to tentatively?
Of August, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, better to plan and cancel than get pulled
I'm
in.
okay with that, with August.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's my mother-in-law's birthday.
What? That's it. We got to
No
cancel.
plans?
Want Candace in trouble.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's great.
So 6 p.m. remote. What do you all want to, I know Elaine wants to start seeing people in person and I miss them too.
I believe
6
by
o'clock is
September,
tough.
we should be in person. I'm sorry. We got to go
Gotcha.
back. We have to go back into September. I'll let it slide for July and August, but I do believe in September. And September's important. That's the flu season start, and we don't know what we're facing. We got new RSV vaccines. There's lots of new things going on in public health.
Do we
Yes.
know if the police station has been wired yet for public meetings?
I believe some substantial progress has been made. I'm not sure if it's totally finished, but I believe it's made good progress. Yeah.
Do they have an extra room that we could use?
Well, it's a call room. It's the roll call room, and we used to use it. It's an amphitheater
It's
setting,
like a community room, right? It's like
Yeah,
it's
a
it's called
community room,
yeah.
but it's for roll call. It's for, you know,
Yeah,
get
yeah,
together, have
yeah.
a, you know, but it's supposed to be wired. The idea was for it to be wired.
Why can't we have in the town hall room?
Well, the idea, I'm not sure. Maybe, it may be better coming from the board than the health director.
I think
You
we
get
have
sassy.
requested to use that room, and we did use that room when we had to have the meeting with Carol's, because of the fact that when you're having anything like that, my thing is that you've got to be in person to pass
Well,
papers. You
yeah,
can't
so that was
post things. Yeah,
that was
yeah.
I mean, what's really weird is, right, meetings used to be down there, like there's been an evolution of where meetings go, and they're scattered throughout the land. So like finance committees downstairs, town council and school committee have been moved to WCAT studios. I think, but the WCAT studio is terrible for public participation. Like it's you know, it's a studio, right? You get slammed into the thing. I think the idea I had heard, maybe I'm making it up, was and so I'll inquire before our meeting in August. Is that if the police station is wired correctly and there's access, you know, like you just pop, you know, maybe you don't need WCAT, but you can pop on the Zoom, because we're still, I think, forever going to have accessibility and accountability for Zoom. So I'll inquire with my town council, our town council colleagues, as to what the thought is, because I think it's time for the town to get a little bit more cohesive about this. And
And also, Anthony, I think that we should start thinking about having a meeting with Melrose and Stoneham.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
We know Melrose, but we don't know Stoneham.
Yep.
So that would be something that we would have to be in a live place, in a real place.
Yeah.
But maybe Melrose does have room and always has, and Stoneham is kind of, can squeeze in there a little bit.
I think it's a great idea. We'd love to have a joint meeting. I mean, maybe even like once a year, just to do it like a check-in would be great. Could be any one of our standard meetings, right? I mean, we don't have to pass any legislation on any of these, but
Well, what we've
yeah.
done, oh, no, we've done it.
Well, I know you have.
So what, and you know, maybe we could talk about this offline and then come up with a, you know, a succinct plan, but in the past, you know, and so during COVID, in order to like help Ruth not burn out, we said, you know, these have to be joint meetings. They were, you know, and we would just vote separately on the same, you know, very similar language. So it was like, okay, same language, Board of Health, Wakefield, you vote, Melrose, you vote. And even when we were a tri-board with Reading, though generally it's not a bad idea to make it more of a 7-minute clinic, to say, okay, this, you know, these are the things that we share, you know, like maybe have a shared
Agenda.
Yeah, well, absolutely, where, you know, it's like our inspectional services are the same team. Our grants for substance use prevention are not, you know, whatever is regional or can be shared from shared experience. That's all I got for now, but okay. Thanks, Elaine. We'll make it happen.
It's in the meetings again. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that motion.
It is 7:33.
Yep.
The meeting is over.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madison, for staying for the whole meeting.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
Madison,
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you.
You're a
Dan. Always good to see you.
trooper.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Hey,
having me,
how's Erin
guys.
doing? How's the
Yeah.
baby? Any baby news for Erin?
Oh, I mean, last I heard, they were doing very well. They're very happy to be home. They're just, they're enjoying the first couple days,
Oh, wow.
babies are, yeah.
Yeah,
We're very excited. I'll probably ping her again and see how she's doing in a little
yeah,
bit. Just
tell
want
her,
to make sure.
tell her we were asking.
Well, this is a way for her to weasel back into getting into work, and I'm telling her no work until you get back. So, we start talking, and suddenly we're talking cases, and I'm like, nope, can't do that.
Yeah.
You should send all correspondence through like letters, like only
Oh,
write
yeah.
letters.
Yep.
No, she can't.
The lost art. Very good. Okay, everybody.
Have a nice July, everyone.
Enjoy,
Yeah,
everybody.
Yep, have a nice July.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.